Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5 and this is going to be a watch collection update. Show you my watch collection. This isn't all of my watches, just the majority of them. Basically this is going to be the significant watches in my watch collection. And they're going to be significant for either wrist time or sentimental value or landmarks in my watch collection history, I guess you can say. And to start off, I'd like to talk about my grandfather's watches. I got two of them on the table, and start off with the uninteresting one. This is a Masonic symboled watch. The indices are Masonic symbols. You know, you got the square compass, the level, plumb, you know, sword, setting ball, you know, your basic stuff. And this is a quartz watch, and I'm assuming that this back pops off and you can replace the battery. And if I were to replace the battery, you know, make a good dress watch, very elegant and stuff, but I'm just afraid to try to remove this case back because it's a inherited watch. I don't want to do anything that will it won't let me set the time either, so it might be broken. There we go. But I wouldn't mind getting this watch working so I could wear it. But it's not my favorite watch. It's just a nice looking watch, in my opinion. You know, very unintrusive. But yeah, that's one of my grandfather's watches. Now the interesting one, from a horological standpoint, is this one. This is an Elgin. I can't remember the model of it, but it's a railroad grade watch. Has 23 jewels in it, and as you can see, it's fully functioning. And I have worn this in public a few times, and the only thing I don't like about it is that you have to unscrew the case front or the crystal, and there's a little lever right here that you have to depress to set the time, because this is a railroad grade watch, and timekeeping was very important to people running trains to keep them from hitting each other. So to get the most accurate watch possible, they put that lever right there, and then when you screw the case front on, it can't be tampered with. You know, no one can tamper with the time and askew what you're reading. So that's interesting. It's just inconvenient. If you let this watch run out, you have to unscrew the case front and set it, and then screw the case back on. But this is a very nice watch. I took it to the local watch repair shop, a horologist, and he was very interested in this watch, and came with this pocket knife fob. And I want to get a vintage Tiffany & Co. pocket knife to put on here. The only problem is Tiffany & Co.'s sterling silver. This is gold colored, so it won't match. But I just think it'd be cool to have a Tiffany & Co. Watch fob, an antique one, not the Victorinox one. I just think that'd be awesome. But this is one of the things I inherited from my grandfather, and pretty cool. I'm really happy to have it. Since we're on the subject of pocket watches, I'll talk about some of the pocket watches in my collection. I have this one, which I bought off eBay, and the main reason why I got it was because it has numerals for the minute and second hand all the way around the clock, from 1 second, 2 second, or 2 minute, all the way up to 60. So it's going to be inherently a very accurate watch. The only problem is it does not work. You know, that kind of sucks. I'm trying to decide if I want to work on this watch, which I have no clue how to work on it, or just to straight up sell it for a Seiko SKX or for a new knife. You know, sell it to someone who knows what they're doing and would really appreciate it. So it does have engraving on the back. I think this is a Goldfield watch, but yeah, I'm probably gonna sell this one. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool watch. And then we have this one. This one is kind of special to me because it was my first mechanical watch. It was my first pocket watch, and as you can see, it functions. You can see the escapement, the escape wheel, balance wheel. You can see the gears moving. And I got this when I was like 7 or 8, and I couldn't tell time on a analog watch, much less Roman numerals. I got it just for the visual interest, and I thought it looked cool. It was almost like a prop to me. And I remember in junior high, I would spin it, open it, and look at it, look at one of my friends, and I'd say, "Your mother's late." And it was just, you know, kind of a little pimp joke that I'd say with my friends, and they thought it was funny. But I have taught myself to read Roman numerals in the analog clock. Thing about this watch, once it's dead, it's probably dead. You know, I don't think you can open the case back on it. I think it's sealed completely, so I don't think you can work on it. So once it breaks, probably going to chunk it because I don't think you can work on it. Speaking of my progression in time, it was pretty recently that I taught myself how to read an analog clock. When I was in elementary and stuff, it wasn't really taught to me how to read an analog clock because I was in speech impediment classes or speech therapy classes and some other like writing classes because I have dysgraphia. So I didn't really get exposed to a lot of the analog clock reading classes or lessons. So it was a skill that I never really picked up for the longest time. And you know, with digital watches being so prevalent, smartphones being prevalent, you know, there was no real need for me to learn how to read an analog clock, and it has affected me in life because, you know, I'd be like, "Hey, what time is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's a clock right there." I was like, "Well, I can't really read it." So at some point within like the last 6 years, I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to read an analog clock. I want to learn how to read Roman numerals. So I taught myself Roman numerals 1 to 12, and I bought this Fossil watch. And what's special about this Fossil watch, which it was my training watch. It's how I trained myself to read a analog watch because it had hands and it had a digital display right here. So I can associate the different positions of the hands with the time on the digital watch. But eventually the hands broke, so they wouldn't spin without me actually spinning it manually. And the watch stopped working, and I was stuck with a digital watch, and I didn't want a digital watch. So I stopped wearing this because it stopped functioning in the way that I wanted it to function. And I got another watch to replace it. But before I show you that watch, I wanted to show you this watch. This is my first automatic watch. It's kind of dressy. And it has Roman numerals, it's skeletonized, so you can see the workings of the watch. But I don't wear it too often because there's not a whole lot of opportunities to wear a dress watch in my life. And I came to the conclusion that this watch wasn't so much dressy as it was a funeral watch. It's very black. You know, dress situations, if I get this one to work, I'll probably wear it. Wouldn't mind wearing this one, but it seems kind of gloomy to me now that I think about it. And I do occasionally wear my grandfather's pocket watch, just not very often. I want to talk about some of the digital watches that I own. I got 2 Pathfinders. One my brother gave to me after his bracelet broke. And I had this one and the bracelet broke. And I had this one and the band broke. Actually, this didn't have a bracelet, it had a band on it as well. But this was a very good watch to me until the band broke. And I replaced the bands on either this one or this one twice. And I got tired of replacing the bands, so I stopped wearing them. But the watch itself on this one is awesome. It has moon phases, tidograph, altimeter, compass. It has so many different complications on it. A thermometer. So I really enjoyed this watch. It is a digital watch, but this was one of my favorite digitals, and I wouldn't mind getting it working again. Not so much this one. I think this one is prettier than this one. This one to me is kind of ugly. I guess pretty is not the right word, but handsome or whatever. But this one is more aesthetically pleasing to me than this one. This is the Golfman. It was kind of advertised to be a water sports watch, which is kind of why I got it, was to scuba dive with. But again, the band broke on it, and I just didn't feel like replacing the band. So I might get this one working again and wear it occasionally, but I really like to stick with analog watches. I think they're much more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. But this is a good watch when it's functioning correctly. Now, there was, by the way, on my grandfather's watch, I can't remember if I mentioned this because I got interrupted by the dog a couple of times. This is a 23 jeweled watch, and it's probably the nicest watch I own, probably the most expensive. Well, I got this one on sale, but without, you know, sales and stuff, this one might be a little bit more expensive, but this is probably the one that's worth the most, but I'm not going to sell it. But it's a very nice watch. But it's nice to know if I was starving and I needed to feed my family or whatever, I can do that with that watch for a while. But again, that's sentimental to me, not planning on selling it. I am thinking about selling this one though. Now, the two watches that get the most wrist time on me as of right now is these two watches. The Apple Watch is kind of my Beetle watch. I take that back. The Apple Watch is my most expensive watch I own, and potentially the most valuable one. I had to make payments on it because it cost over $1,000. But this is the most expensive watch I own, and inherently the most worthless one at the same time. And I'll talk more about that. But this is my Wangle Grenadier, and I really like it. This was kind of my dress up, dress down watch. Something if I was going to go in places where I wanted to make a good impression, I'd wear this watch. And it's titanium. It has a titanium bracelet, which looks cool and is very comfortable. But there's something I don't like about this. Well, there's two things I don't like about this watch. One, the unidirectional bezel is very difficult to spin. It's not very pleasant to spin the unidirectional bezel. And the clasp, this just kind of floats out there. And if I were to show you this, if I had my hand and I got a lot of shock to my hand, it pops open. And so I just can't trust this watch in potentially rugged situations. So this got demoted to kind of my dressier watch, you know, where I'd be wearing it in situations where I wouldn't have to worry about losing it or anything like that. But I'm going to retire this one most likely, and I'm going to be wearing the Apple Watch in my newest Seiko now. But yeah, this was a very good watch to me until the titanium gave out. You know, the detent is just terrible. But overall, I enjoyed wearing this watch. And it's also not ISO certified, so you can't dive with it. So this brings us to my newest watch, my Seiko. This is my Seiko K777, I think. It's from the Pro Specs line, the professional specifications line, and it's a dive watch. And I was looking for a new watch that would be very versatile. I wanted a watch that I could dress up, dress down, you know, wear to the club, wear to the beach. You know, I wanted a watch that can work in most situations. And I found that in the diver style watch. This is a true diver. It's ISO certified to 200 meters, which is way deeper than I ever plan on going. And it's an automatic movement. And this is not a review on this, but this was the most aesthetically pleasing one that I found. Well, not the most aesthetically, it's the most aesthetically pleasing one I found in my price range. And I was looking at this one. I was looking at the Seiko SKX 007, and I was like, well, I can get the Seiko SKX 007 for a lower price. This one's more expensive, but this one looks nicer. And then I found this on a website, the Joe Ma's shop, and it had it was on sale, and it had a $20. I had a $20 gift code to use because I gave them my email address for, you know, newsletters and such. And so I got this for around, well, for $269 shipped. So I was like, I can do that. I can afford the more expensive one. And this has date and time and everything. So this is my new kind of fancy watch. And that's exactly why I got it. I wanted it to look good. I wanted it to tell the time. And I wanted to wear it in multiple situations. Like I said, dress up, dress down, scuba diving, you know, night out on the town. That's why I got this watch. Now, after I bought this watch, I discovered that a lot of people get the SKXs and they mod them out and they make them very cool looking. They make them their own watch. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to mod out an SKX, and I do plan on getting an SKX here somewhat soon. And I want to customize it. I'm a little intimidated by this project, but I think I can do it. I just don't know if it'll be waterproof after I open up the case back. But this is my newest watch. It's my favorite watch that I own as of right now. As far as you know, it's a different kind of love. This is sentimental. This is practical and aesthetically pleasing in my eye. But I will have a review on this in probably a month, and I'll tell you all about it. But that's it. I hope y'all have a great day. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.